So today's project is actually a couple-fold. I need to work on the sink in the basement. So today's project is a couple different projects actually. I need to work on the sink in the basement, the wine sink, to get that ready. And to do that I need my brad nailer, and to do that I need a compressor that I can use in the new house. I have a compressor that I actually fixed a number of years ago. That it's just one of those cheap Chinese compressors, and somebody had broken the regulator off of it, and my dad found it in an apartment that he was cleaning up, and I fixed it for him. Just some cheap parts. I got it off of eBay, I think, maybe Amazon, one of the two. It doesn't matter. But since that time, the breaker in the control itself burnt out, and he just went off and bought a new one. So I inherited the compressor, and I'm going to fix it up so I have it to use. So this thing's been sitting in my wood shop for some time now, and it is incredibly filthy. Here is the relay actually that burnt out, and you probably won't be able to see it all too well, but the contacts are burnt and it's keeping it from working. So we just need to get a new relay assembly and then replace this whole piece here, reconnect everything up, and we'll have a working compressor again. The motor was working just fine. It just needs some control. So I think the first thing we'll do is take it over to my really big air compressor that I have over here and blow the dust off of it. That one obviously isn't not very portable, so I can't take that over to the house to use, but it's a nice thing to have in the garage here. Alright, we're all cleaned off. Only drew a little blood getting the thing picked up. Wire caught my finger. It's not bleeding, so you know, we don't have to use any duct tape to seal it up. This is the kit that I picked up off of Amazon, and it's pretty much identical to what's there. More like that. You got a control valve for pressure. You got your valves in the top, line down to the tank. This is probably the relay that sits on top. Nothing real complicated at all to this fix. I'm gonna need some channel locks. As usual, I spend 3 times longer looking for tools than I do actually working on something. Found some channel locks. So there's that piece out, and it's just the same thing as this, just without all the pieces attached to it. So we'll put that on. Don't think that came with a new rubber gasket, unfortunately, so I'll have to use the existing one, which looks a little worn. This is just one of the gauges. There's that in. And there's one of the gauges. And I don't think it matters where they go. One's, no, they're the same gauge. We are going to need some Teflon tape, however. The other one had Teflon tape on it. And we'll want to do the same with the new one so we have no leaks. And that is just going to screw into there. So let me see if I can find some Teflon tape. Just shredded. That's better. Not real rocket science to it. But you do need to make sure you're not plugging your hole. There's one. That one fell. There's two. And we've got a 12mm open end wrench to tighten these down. There's that one. And then these guys just screw in there. Just that simple. When you put on Teflon tape, you always want to make sure that your trailing edge goes the opposite way you're screwing in, so when you're screwing it in, it doesn't fold it up as you do it. And for the life of me, I always get this wrong. So we went around this way, we need to go around this way. I think even when I try to get it right, I always get it wrong. But if you get it on the right way, as you're turning it in, it will go with the direction of the trailing edge. So as we're screwing this in, it's not going to lift that up. And I think I did it wrong yet again. Blow off valve, emergency release. So I've got all the air components connected up here and ready to go. Everything's nice and sealed, and we're going to move on to the relay. Now the relay screws onto the top there, and then there's two lines here for electrical lines. One will come in from the plug and the other one will go out to the motor. And then when the relay is normally closed until you get enough pressure in the tank to pop it open, and then it doesn't let the motor run at that point. Here I'm going to speed up this incredibly boring 15 minutes of time that it took me to move the wires across. And in my case, I actually had the old one still wired in, and I was able to just move the wires across to the new one. And if you don't have that option, it's really not all that difficult. You just need to make sure that the wires are going across the relay. So you want to go neutral, neutral, and hot to hot. So when the relay closes and opens, it's going across those wires. You never want to mix them up together, so you have your neutral going to hot and hot to neutral. That would be bad. And then, of course, you hook your ground up, and then I just screw it onto the top of the stack. And to reword that, all the relay is essentially doing is just breaking or opening the line. So you have your, say you have your neutral line coming across, and the relay will open that neutral line or close that neutral line, so you have current can flow through it. So you just need to make sure that, look at the relay itself, and you can see how that's connected and wire it so it's an inline connection. And the last thing I'm doing here is connecting up the little tube that goes between the relay itself and the actual tank.
So that tells the air pressure, tells the relay how much air pressure is coming into it. And then we'll either shut the relay open or closed, depending on how much pressure is there. That relay is controlled by a very large spring, and you can adjust that spring tension at the top, so you can balance out how much air pressure you have in the tank by adjusting that spring. And at this point, it's also much more time involved. I am pushing the wires up through those little holes in the bottom of the relay and then wiring them into the relay itself. And if you just go by that wiring diagram a few minutes ago there, that is how you want to connect it. Just make sure that the line is connecting to itself when the relay closes, and not connecting to the switching to the hot to the neutral. So that's very important. So it's a continual circuit for each individual line. One final issue I had to deal with is the new relay did not have a place for the ground screw to go, so I'm loosening up one of the frame mounts and I'm going to put it on the frame mount so I have a nice good ground. That's what I'm pulling down there right now and connecting it right up to the frame mount. And that will solve my grounding issue. All my relay points are wired in. Just need to put the top back on and test it out. Going to do a quick double check of all the fittings, all the connections, all the wires, make sure nothing's touching anything that it shouldn't, and we'll plug it in and test it out and see what happens. Here we go. And there we have it. Everything is working, tested. We're going to put the cap back on, finish closing it up, and check all the fittings and connections one more time, make sure everything's good. But it looks like we have a good, solid, working compressor now. All for the $20 Amazon purchase for a new relay and assembly. I did have one of the fittings leak, but we're going to get that replaced pretty soon. I'll just use the one from the old one. And got it all back together and noticed that it didn't start when I turned the breaker or switch back on from the power strip. And the obvious solution for that is with the new top on, there's a on-off switch on the top. So I just need to pull that off switch back up and then we'll have power again. So perfect. Shut off at 100 psi. And I have a leak. See if I can figure out where that's coming from. I think it's coming from there. Nope, it's coming from my blow-off valve. Perfect. Now I can take this over and use my brad nailer.